Welcome to Alternative Dog Moms Podcast. I'm Kimberly Gauthier, the creator of Keep the Tail Wagging. For the past 9 years, I've been blogging about raw feeding, pet wellness, and life as a crazy dog mom. I've seen massive improvements in my dog's health since I started raising my dogs naturally, and I'm passionate about sharing my experience to help other pet parents.
I'm Erin Scott. For the past 9 years, I've been researching and learning everything I can about healing cancer, allergies, autoimmune, and mystery illnesses in both my dogs and myself. And I can't wait to share with you everything I've learned on this journey. As the Alternative Dog Moms, we're bringing you all the latest dog health news that we're following and sharing the tips, tricks, and resources we learn along the way. Now, let's get started. Hello, Kimberly.
Hello, Erin. I'm glad we're back.
Yeah. Are you feeling better?
I'm feeling so much better. I feel alive. It's crazy because I was so, there was one day where I texted my boss and was just like, I'm working and I'm finishing these 3 things and then I'm going back to bed. And like with you, I texted you right before, like, nope, not happening. I'm going to bed. I went to bed and I felt like I was convinced that I had COVID again.
Oh no.
I was just like, oh, this has got to be COVID again. But the thing that was different was my eyes itched so bad, which is allergies. And so I don't know what was growing, or maybe it was because we had the smoke. We had really horrible air quality last week here. So I don't know if it was that, but I woke up Thursday feeling like a new person. It was just like, yes. But what's interesting is that, remember, so we talked to Thomas Sandberg and I had already ordered trace minerals, but I ordered the boron.
I've been wanting to check that out.
So I did. And so when I was sick, I would like take some juice and I have a tincture of medicinal mushrooms that I just get from a store on Etsy, which probably is so horrible because I don't know who these people are, but I trust it. It hasn't killed me yet. So I put that into my juice and then I was adding a couple drops of the trace minerals, which, by the way, everything that I give to my dogs that is safe for me to try, I always try it on me first. And so the trace minerals, woo, don't ever take the bottle and do this into your mouth. Don't squeeze
like
the liquid. Don't squeeze the liquid in your mouth. It's like taking a handful of salt and just dumping it into your mouth. Because it was just like, I was over the sink with the just trying to get it off my tongue. It was horrible. So just a couple of drops is all you need. So I added a couple of drops of the trace minerals and then a capful of the boron. And I drank that for 3 days and whatever was going on, it knocked it right out.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know if it could have been a coincidence, but I like to think that I'm all natural now.
Well, it was a poop in the crate kind of day over here. We've had rain for the last couple days, and Nino, who is, the big 80-pound dude, he's very diva-like when it rains, and he does not like his paws getting wet. And so he hadn't pooped outside, yesterday evening or this morning. And so when we got home from work, he was plastered up against the side of the crate because he was trying not to be near the poop.
Oh.
So the poor guy, now we're washing everything. And so sometimes we can get him to poop out in the front yard because, I don't know, that's more like exotic because he usually goes in the backyard. So the front yard's kind of cool. So we're going to see if we can get him to poop out there since he doesn't like going outside in the backyard when it's raining.
It's funny because my dogs, they don't have a problem going outside in the rain. They don't care. But they prefer to go out on the property than go into their yard. I think they sort of feel like if we put them in their yard that we're punishing them.
Oh.
Because they'll go out there if I go out there. And especially Scout, when he was with us, he would go out there and like he and I would play and stuff. Zoe she'll go out, but she stays close like to the door and she just watches and waits. And sometimes she'll come out, like on a nice day, she'll come out and just walk around and stuff. But mostly she's just sort of like, are we going inside now? Are we going inside? But then when I take her out to the big yard, the main property, it's hard to get her in the house. No matter what the weather is, she wants to just be outside. So, Yeah, so I have to, and I didn't do it today because I ran out of time, out of daylight. So tomorrow I have to go out there in the rain. I have a leaf blower, and I have to blow the leaves so that they don't hide the poop, and clean up the yard. So, but lots of changes. I got some colostrum, not the stuff that you got, but I ordered it from Four Leaf Rover. I was looking at comparing two different brands, and Four Leaf Rover was from grass-fed cows, and I can't remember, there were other things that just made it a little more appealing than the other one. For some reason, I was also thinking it was cheaper, but it wasn't. It was like, I don't know where my brain was. I think I was doing math back when I wasn't really 100%, and it was bad math. But it's still, you can get, I did like a recurring order, and I had a discount code because it was like, hey, thanks for ordering from us. Here's a discount code. And so I used that and put it on a recurring order. And so I ordered more of the colostrum from them, but they also have that soil supplement. And so I haven't used it yet, but I ordered that too.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm going through the Adored Beast stuff right now, so I don't want to mess it up. I want to just I'm alternating and learning. And one thing I learned is with the Adored Beast, it's just best to go with one product because they want you to alternate between them, but don't alternate between them all on the same day. Because that's where diarrhea comes from. And so now this week we're doing Gut Soothe. And so next week we'll do like Phytophthora. And so that's what I'm doing now. And that's working out pretty good.
Well, I am trying a new probiotic with Penny that we got from our vet, and it's called Visbiome. And I had a really interesting conversation with my vet this weekend. I'm going to try to communicate it all as intelligently as I can here, granting that I am not a vet, nor am I like a Billy Hookman.
I know.
But it actually all sort of ties in. So what the vet was asking me is, do I give Penny any carbohydrates in her meal? And I said, well, she gets like the green juju products. And she's like, oh, good. She's had this UTI issue going on. It's gotten better, but it's still not 100% right. There's nothing showing up in her urine, but she still is peeing like more frequently than usual. So we're trying to kind of figure out what's going on. And she has some other just like immune system things going on. So what my vet was telling me about is that it is the lacto and bifido species of probiotics that produce short chain fatty acids, and that the short chain fatty acids are what help provide like the anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial parts to the immune system. And that's why she wanted Penny on this specific supplement, because this Visbiome has a really high concentration of the lacto and the bifidos, and that it's good that those need to eat carbohydrates in their gut in order to like help feed them. So that's why she wanted to make sure that Penny was getting like some green juju or some other kind of like veggies that we're doing. She even said like we can add like carrot scraps, like when you're like peel a carrot, like, and something specifically about like having those long strands. I don't know. She wanted added into her bowl. So, we've been talking so much, right, about like, well, we know the microbiome is important. We know like probiotics are important, but not just like any rando.
Yeah.
So this was really interesting to me to have my vet understand what some of these things do, why they're important, and why Penny needs them right now. So I was
That's really cool.
It like ties together so many things for me.
I follow this guy on YouTube that ferments, and I didn't know that I was following him, or I should say I didn't remember that I was following him, but I was looking up information on fermenting today, and I came across one of his videos, and I was like, oh, I'm a subscriber. So now I want to do a deep dive into his videos. I mean, it's not fermentation for pets, it's for humans, but he delivers information in such a simple way. So it's like, oh, that makes sense. And I have this random question, and I know the answer is no, but I still want to understand, like, why is it no? And so my thought was, because Billy and I went to dinner last night, and he was saying that I think he got a like they got a comment on their page about the cost, like that they're just making products for rich people and that the regular average person can't afford these products. And I was just like, I kind of get that. I mean, because if you think about it, especially when you think about like, I can make this at home type of thing where it's like, why would I pay, I don't know, 12, I don't know how much the golden or the green, the golden paste. I don't know how much it costs, but let's just say it's $12. Why would I pay $12 for golden paste when I can just make golden paste at home? But
like, I would never make it at home, just FYI. I'm just so not ever going to do it. Like, like I'm so not a DIY person that way.
And here I do, and I make it huge batches of it. But I also have a really excellent source of my turmeric. So it's a really great product. And I only use Cocoa Therapy coconut oil. So when I'm making a big pot of it, I use an entire jar, like their small jar of coconut oil when I'm making it. And that's not cheap. And I don't think that each batch, like each container that I make is $12. But if I was running a business and needed to recoup costs and make a revenue, then it could possibly be that much. But the difference for me is the fermentation.
Yeah.
That's something that I can't do. And talking to Billy, he told me that was like a trial and error for them where they had to figure out how to do that. And since I know how to ferment vegetables, but it's not like, because I'll make a mix of vegetables. I learned from this guy on YouTube that different vegetables need different, they like require different things for fermentation. So you can create a way, but like some of them it's, I think it was like 2% salt. Some vegetables need 3% salt. And it's not that simple. It's not super complicated, but it's not super basic. But ultimately my question was, I wonder if I made a huge batch of golden paste and then added the green juju golden paste to it,
Ooh.
would my golden paste now be fermented? Like, does it have all the stuff? Will it start, expanding on the ferment? I don't know. I have a feeling that if I ask Billy, he'll tell me, no, that's not how it works. And so that's why I haven't asked him because it's just like, because I could even hear his voice. I could hear his voice saying, yeah, like, no, that's not it. But it's just, those are the type of things that I've been wondering about as far as just a way to make fermentation a little easier. I do know that what gave me the thought was like, if you take, yogurt and I can sit there and make a new batch of yogurt. So I could add it to milk and make a new batch of yogurt and it'll expand. But I don't know how that works or why that works. And like, I don't know where in the process you would have to add yogurt or add the probiotics or whatever the case that makes the ferment. Because when I did it in an Instapot and it cooked it all together. So do I need to add the green juju to my golden paste as I'm cooking it? And then with all that heat, am I ruining? I don't know. That's when it goes into overthinking and I just buy the green juju. I mean, I could still make my own, but the other thing is that, the green juju, say that 5 times fast, green juju golden paste, it's very concentrated. So that bag will last a long time.
Right.
Because I don't have to put that much into it.
Yeah, I mean, I get at least a week out of those bags between both dogs.
Gosh, I get longer. And I have 3 dogs. But I also don't add it every day.
Oh, yeah, I do. I'll rotate it. Like I'll do all that for 1 week and then I'll do like all beets for a week. Yeah. And, so I've been like kind of rotating them that way.
Yeah. And so I put mine, I just actually thawed mine out again because whenever I get it, I thaw them and then transfer it to a glass container because it's just easier for me to use and then put it back in the freezer. But I really like it. I like it a lot. So, but I mean, I get the frustration because I went to the store so excited to see solutions at our local pet store. And I filled up my cart with tons of their products. And then I did the math, did some fast math in my head. And then I put all the products back in the freezer because it's very, very expensive. And this isn't a slam against Solutions. It's a business. They're brand new. They can't scale it to make it so that, because I'm comparing it in my head of what I remember spending on like Answers fermented fish stock and then Cure fermented fish stock, but they're brand new. And so it's going to take time for them to build so that the costs start going down a little bit. And we're in a weird economy. So maybe that won't happen for a long time. I mean, I don't know what the cost on their end is like, but I think I can see how a lot of people would look at that, want to try it. But they're just sort of like, I
mean, I feel like it's like a best of the best situation. Like this is a premium product and they're charging a premium price. And that's what the market share or whatever that they're looking for.
And they're the only ones doing it. Mm-hmm. So I know that there's another brand, the Real Meat Company, I think it's called, that has a fermented fish and mushroom broth, but they're on your side of the country. So
it's and they're not in retail outlets, right?
And I don't want to have something like that shipped to my house. I wouldn't mind if they were like local, like for instance, Darwin's and stuff, because it's right here, but it would just be too much to ship to my house. Shipping from the East Coast to where I am. My friend who sent me all of his tea after he closed his shop, the shipping for all of that tea, I mean, it was a huge box, but the shipping was like over $80. So it's just like, but I thought it was worth it because it was tea and I love tea and I basically have tea for the rest of my life now. But yeah, so I would rather spend the money if I'm going to do fermented fish stuff. I mean, I'm lucky because, I took it all. So I still have Cure. I still have Answers fermented fish stock. I think I might have used it all. I might finally have gone through it all, but I still have plenty of Cure.
That's awesome.
So I don't need it right now, but when the time comes, I'll just, it'll be one of those things where instead of clearing out the freezer like I did with Cure, I'll just buy one or two and it'll just be something to that I alternate with other things in their diet. But I am pretty impressed with their product line, and because it is one of those when you see everything, you're like, ooh.
And I was excited to see that they're going to start having more fermented products, like maybe not the whole product itself is fermented, but certain ingredients going into the products are fermented. So
I know. I'm actually really curious to know if they, and I know I'm not trying to stir up trouble, but I'm curious to know if they've gotten any pushback about the fermentation, since that was such a huge sticking point with Cure.
Are we allowed to talk about that?
I think we are, but I think we are because we're not really saying anything, but I'm just curious. And so I mean, other people are doing it too, but it's one of those things where I don't know the ins and outs of how the stuff,
Well, I think it's still a very different product with just certain aspects of it that have been fermented.
I wonder if they use cod livers. I should.
Yes.
Do they use? Because that's what I wonder. Like, how do they get the cod livers?
I don't want that job.
I know exactly. And so, but I am pretty impressed. I have to say I'm impressed with Chelsea Kent. And,
absolutely.
What she's building, like with Parsley Pet and now with Solutions, and she has her pet stores. It's pretty kind of impressive to see where this is going. And I honestly think that she saw a need and she did the steps to fill it. And what astounds me is how quickly she is making things happen. I mean, it has been, I think it's been a year since I first heard about the fact that a year later she's now in my pet store,
right,
is pretty impressive and really cool. And she has a lot of respect from a lot of people.
So I just found their post where they said the fish jiggles now includes fermented herring and fermented cod liver, and that these ingredient upgrades will be included in the next round of our packaging.
Oh, nice. Well, that's kind of cool that they're still like making changes and adjusting.
Yeah. So I'm really excited to try the food when it's available, the pork specifically, but I don't know that it's something I can do on a regular rotation. It might just be once in a while, but I do want to try it.
So, well, at my local pet store, because I can't get it through our co-op because our co-op isn't adding new brands yet. They're waiting maybe till next year or so. But my local pet store does. And the first day or the first Wednesday of the month, everything is 20% off, everything fresh food. So I have a standing like things that I have to buy. Like I buy my cat food and then I usually buy my cat food. I always pick up one Green Juju Golden Place, one of their beets. And my whole plan is like over the year, I'll always have something in the freezer. And then I think that's when I'm going to get some of the solutions. I mean, I've tried it, but because I think I just bought a couple of things just to see. But right now, I don't need the bone broth. I don't need the fish jiggles. I guess the chicken jiggles, the fish jiggles. What I'm most curious about is the cheese. And so I want to try that.
I like the cheese.
Yeah.
Again, a little pricier, but what I like about it is that I can cut it into whatever size that I want. And so it actually lasts me longer.
Do you just give it as a treat?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I definitely want to try that. My dogs really love cheese.
Yeah.
And the one thing that, again, I'm not bashing anyone, but the one thing that I did not like about the other cheese was how hard it got.
Yeah. And this I haven't had that problem with.
Yeah. So I definitely want to try the cheese out. And especially because after everything that I've been learning about my dog's gut health. And did you try the tummy butter tea?
Yes. I've tried all the different goat milks. Yeah.
So I'm curious about that as well. So
because Nino has a sensitive stomach. So at nighttime, Nino needs to get this supplement. It's like traditional Chinese medicine herbs from our vet that he gets at nighttime. That's a liquid form, and so he won't take it just by itself. So I put like a splash, a little bit of goat milk. So I always use the tummy butter tea for him because it's like all very soothing, and when he doesn't get this herbal supplement thing, he gets a lot of like indigestion at night.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I want to just go and give a few things a try over time and just see what I'm into. But I want to try there's a better butter tea.
Yeah.
And a tummy butter tea. Well, I definitely want to try one of those. And probably just over the time, I'll probably try something each month.
And the tech sauce, that has turmeric in it.
Oh, okay. Because that's just it, is that, I guess I can read the ingredients, but there hasn't been a whole lot. I'm not seeing a whole lot about solutions other than people trying it and people looking for it. So I saw their post that you brought up about, ingredients, but what I'm curious to know is if they're going to start doing more educational lives, because I think that it would be interesting. And you definitely have to have her on.
Yeah.
Because I'm curious to know mostly about the ideas behind the products, because a lot of these, if they're products we've heard of before, they've like taken it and gone even further with it, or they've come up with something really new. And that just blows me away, because it's not like there's any, like the cheeses where it's a different cheeses for, like the calming one and the tummy one. I mean, I love that idea. So,
and the other thing I was really excited about with the food, and this is again why we had to have her on, right? So that they have added extra nutrients or extra nutrient rich foods because they look at the parsley pet trends and see what are the most common nutrient deficiencies that dogs have.
Interesting.
We're going to add in extra nutrient dense foods to make up for that. And I was really excited about that.
Love that. So speaking of Parsley's Pet, we're like all over the place and I'm loving it. So my friend Destiny White, she is starting a new business. It's not out yet, so I'm not going to promote it because it's not out yet and I don't remember the name of it at the moment. So, but Destiny is starting a new business where she offers meal formulation services. And she offered to, it's so sad, because she was like, you know what? Why don't you send me a few of your recipes and I'm going to look them over and see how well you're doing, because maybe that'll get people off your back. And I'm just like, thank you. So I sent her like a pork recipe, a duck recipe, and what else? Oh, a quail recipe. Those are the 3 recipes the 3 that I mainly alternate between, the 3 proteins, I should say. And she was so cool about it. So she sent back to say, this is what I see as a deficiency. But all the things that she saw as a deficiency, I'm actually covering, not intentionally, but I'm covering it with other foods, sort of like whole food supplements. So, she's like, the diet could be deficient in vitamin E. Well, I'm doing wild Alaskan fish oil, which is a great source of vitamin E. She said that, one diet could be deficient in zinc. My dogs get oysters. So I actually alternate those within my meal prep rather than just adding them to the bowl. So, but they do get oysters. And so I thought it was pretty cool because my diets are pretty spot on. They're good. But this is from her looking at it and not really knowing the nutrient makeup of the base mix that I use because it's not out there. Maybe it is out there and she was able to pull it in. I don't know. But there's that. But also I've had my dogs nutrient tested with Parsley Pet and they've all come back like, we're good to go. So this just is another reminder that we all are, we can do the best we can, but depending upon where we go to like do our double check, we could be fine or we could be missing something. So maybe it's sort of like, just like we alternate proteins in our diet, I need to start alternating where I get my information from. It's not enough to just lean on Parsley Pet and being like, I'm good. I should probably run stuff by a meal formulator who has experience with NRC and everything, because they may be able to pick up on something that the Parsley Pet test, which is based on something that I fed 6 months ago, that it didn't pick up on. So yeah, I don't know. I nerded out a little bit. So I'm going to publish all of that on my blog, what the results were. But I just thought it was really pretty fascinating. Yeah. Another thing someone said to me was, because in the argument that, like, I still think that we should be aware of the nutrients, especially those of us who are doing DIY. I mean, I don't think we need to know. I don't think I need to be able to rattle off all the vitamins and minerals that are in each meal. That's not necessary, but I think that it behooves us to take some time to really make sure that, we're not just throwing some meat and organs and bone in a bowl and calling it good, that we're making sure that this is what our dog needs and covering what may not be in the bowl. But one person said that, our dog's nutritional needs actually change practically on a daily basis. So what our dogs need on Monday may not be what they need on Tuesday or Wednesday, or they may be deficient on Monday, but perfectly fine on Thursday, which blew my mind. I don't know how true this is. It was just within a conversation about, balance. And so when a few people said that, and it makes sense to me though. And, and their thought was like, that's why balance over time is what people get to, is because you're not actually going to be able to balance your dog's diet on a daily basis because every dog is unique. And so you're going to be able to get close, but just not perfect.
I saw an article recently, and I'll make sure that I post a link in the show notes, that basically saying how rampant nutrient deficiencies are in children and women of childbearing age, because we aren't doing any of this for ourselves at all. Mm-hmm. most of us, there's a reason like the standard American diet, like is so frowned upon, So anyway, it's just so interesting sometimes that I think of how passionate the internet arguments are about our dogs when it's like we aren't doing any of this for ourselves at all.
Exactly. And every now and then I come across someone who actually is a nutritionist, like for humans. And so they know all of these things and they start applying it to their dogs. And for some reason, I can understand them a lot better than the nutritionists for dogs. And maybe it's because it's the difference between someone going online and taking the CASI course, which, no slam, that's a great course, but versus someone who went to university and created an entire career and profession out of nutrition. So they seem to have a lot more. And, what we're doing now as far as meal formulation services, although a lot of people have been studying this for years, that service is so very new, like within the past few years where people are offering it. So I feel like we're still working out the kinks of what's right and what's wrong. But what I would love, and I might reach out to Destiny and see if she'd be willing to do this, is to look at some of the diets, like to take a diet that's a prey model meal, take a barf model meal, take a rotational monofeeding meal, and take an NRC meal, and like have all the same, like similar ingredients, but like with barf, we're going to do like a pork recipe, but now we're going to add vegetables and make it into barf, and see where the deficiencies are. Because it's funny that you say that, because this morning on the news, they were talking about that same thing. And they doctors are seeing either huge deficiencies in kids or toxic levels of vitamins in kids because everyone's buying these gummies. And so the kids think that they're candy. The parents buy them because this is the way I can get my kids to take vitamins. The kids think they're candy, so they get into the cabinet and
pound the gum,
eat half a container of them, and they're like ending up with these toxic levels of the fat soluble vitamins. So now they're trying to find a balance of, okay, how can we stop this from happening to children? It's just like, so glad I don't have kids, because that's so something I would do.
I remember having to have these horrible Flintstone vitamins.
Yes,
when I was like,
those?
They were so gross.
Horrible. I used to try to make myself pretend like I like them. I can still taste them now.
I know.
They had the chalky, bitter taste. And there was one color that I always thought would be good, and it never was. Maybe it was the purple one. I don't know. But yeah, those were not good.
Yeah.
No. And the vitamins today, they're not great. There are some. There's a brand, I don't know the name of the brand, where they don't anymore. And I don't know if this is the reason why, I should look it up, but they used to have these gummies that were covered, I think they were sugar coated.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, they were delicious. And I would literally just sit there and empty out a handful, and I would tell myself it was okay because I hadn't had vitamins in a few days. So now I'm just catching up, but they were so good. And I have been looking for them for a year. And I can't find them anywhere because I think that they don't do the sugar, because maybe people were ending up with toxic levels of vitamin A and D and the other ones.
So I didn't get to tell you about Penny and I's field trip.
Yes, tell me all about it. First of all, I am so annoyed with you in a good way, but I'm so annoyed with you because I'll get a text message from you and I'm just like, damn it, because it's just, and I gave Billy a hard time because I think he sent me a message saying, so I gave Erin some, and I'm just like, shut up. I think that was my response, was shut up. And, because you got colostrum from Billy, and now you're going to the open house at BJ's, which I'm like, there was an open house? That is like so cool. So, okay. So tell me about it.
Yeah. So BJ's Raw Food Company had this open house at their farm facility in Lancaster a couple weeks ago. And Billy was a speaker there. And my husband was supposed to go with me, but he ended up not feeling well that day. So I took Penny with me. She loves a good field trip. So she got to meet Billy. And he gave me a half a gallon of fresh goat colostrum. I mean, it was still frozen at the time, but I was really excited about that. And I just had him on the Believe in Dog podcast. I saw you guys finally had him on Girls with Dogs. Kathy got to see that he exists. And so when I had been talking to him that day, we had talked about colostrum, and then the open house was a couple days later. So it was, in fact, after we had the interview, I think that's what it was. He's like, all right, I got to get to this farm and pick up my colostrum. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. I think that's kind of how that all came about.
Yeah. He sent me a picture of all the gallons, and I was just like, why do you always have to show off?
But yeah, so, I was really surprised at how many people were there. I mean, throughout the day there had to at least been 100 people there. And, they had some tents set up, and of course there's a lot of Amish people, and, they were serving, food and drinks and ice cream. And, it was funny to me watching. I saw this little Amish boy running around with this little ice cream cone, and he totally dropped the ice cream cone, and then he just picked it right back up and just started eating it. That's awesome.
Which means he's probably the healthiest child around.
Exactly. So Billy gave a talk, and I'm always interested to see what he picks to talk about, and I was really just interested to see kind of like the crowd reaction, because there definitely seemed to be people there who maybe were new to this, a lot of this information, but there was definitely people there like, and so it was just cool to kind of, I was like kind of trying to gauge like how much of the crowd like were like, I don't know what this guy's talking about, versus how many were like super engaged, and most people were really engaged. And he talked a lot about going to the AFCO meetings and about how they try to change the definition of products so that it can include, for instance, the plastic that this product is ground up in, and so I could tell people were horrified and weren't familiar with this kind of information before. And and I would just generally appreciated just he talks again about what he feeds his dogs and why, and just kind of, it was a very like 101 kind of, talk. Yeah. And, but there were so many people, afterwards that wanted to talk to him about what's going on with their dogs or just wanted more information. But the whole facility was there to be really open and transparent about what they're doing and giving tours and, meeting, you can meet some of the animals, and Penny got to sniff a piglet's butt and
I just love that.
Boop snoots with a little calf. And she was not at all impressed with the goats, though. I was surprised. And they had like hay rides. And so they had the big like draft horses pulling the hay ride cars. And she was very intrigued with the horses. And then they had like a discount for anybody buying food there that day. So I did, of course, buy food. Some people were buying like pallets of food, and
blows me away.
Yeah, but it was just it was a really great day. It was like a perfect fall day to be there, and I really appreciate their commitment to transparency, because when are you ever invited to a facility where your dog food is made?
Yeah.
And they wanted you to be there, and they wanted to welcome you. And I really love that company. I really love all the people involved, and down to the kids. I mean, the kids who are packing the freezer, people were, emptying the last things out of the freezers, and these kids come running out, they're 9-10 years old, running out. And so it was just, it was a really cool day. I really appreciate it. I hope it's something that they'll do, keep doing in the future.
Yeah, that is so cool. We don't have anything like that here. I mean, we have raw food brands, but they're not doing big parties and they're not on farms. But it's just like, it's so cool. I mean, what a way the transparency into building, trust and that connection with pet parents. I mean, if a company did that here, I would be loyal,
right?
Just because I feel like, I feel so comfortable.
Yeah.
You forget how, distance we are from each other and everything through. So, we talk on social media, but it's not the same.
We're very disconnected from where we get our food from.
Definitely. I mean, granted, I'm not going to start raising pigs and slaughtering them, but it's so easy to forget that the food on the shelves at the supermarket, that was an animal not long ago. And to think about those things, and oh, that's so cool. That's so exciting. I feel like, it's what's beautiful about it is that they are creating, I wouldn't call it a habit, but basically I bet we'll start seeing more people do some type of similar thing
I hope so.
Because it does mean, I mean, if you can have people come and tour, like what Real Dog Box and letting me come down and tour their space. And if you can just open it up on a Saturday and have an open house with booths and, or tables and stuff like that, what an amazing way for people to actually see. Cause I know that when I walked away from them, I was just like, upgrade my account. And it was just like, cause before I went there, I was like, nope, I'm only going to do the chews. That's perfectly within my budget. And I mean, one day, a few hours, and I was like, take all my money. I love this place.
Well, I mean, I was in line for 45 minutes to buy food. So I think a lot of people felt that way, which I thought was amazing to see.
Yeah.
And you could bring your dog. So I got to meet there was somebody with a German Shepherd puppy, and there was somebody that had this beefy gray pit bull that I just loved. And, it was cool. I was great. I think it had the intended effect in that way. So I was glad for them.
I think it's amazing. It's such a great idea.
And also there is a gorgeous state park, right around the corner, that you pass on your way there. Mm-hmm. So Penny and I took a little, a mini hike on our way home.
Nice. It's like a full on day. I've actually felt like the special girl. I don't know what's going on, but this is amazing.
Well, we all, every weekend, I don't know if you know this, but I basically plan my whole weekend around getting to have some kind of adventure with Penny. Sometimes we just drive around for a while, but, we have different places where we stop and, walk and parks, and because she loves the car and all she wants is a car ride, and Nino hates the car. So him and Tim have a bro hang while Penny and I have our adventures.
I love it. I think it's amazing. I know I took Rodrigo because, well, one, he's reactive, but two, he currently has a partial cruciate tear, which he wrecked today. So now when he goes out into the yard, I need to leash him up because usually he'll just walk outside. But today, I don't know what was going on. Well, I do know there was equipment out on the Centennial Trail. They're trimming back all the bushes. They do this every fall. And he heard the machinery. So he went running at top speed. And I was just watching him here we go. Okay, here we go. And so he came in the house and was just looking at me. And I'm like, yeah, you did that. That's what you did, as he's hobbling around. But I try to take Zoe. It used to be Scout, Zoe, and Apollo. Now it's just Zoe and Apollo for a walk. At least I wanted to do twice a day, but I ran out of time. But, we go for at least 1.5 to 2 mile walk. And I'm working us up to, because we used to go on 5-7 mile walks every day, and that stopped. And I think it's because I got into a car accident and my back was killing me. And this was, I think, in 2021 that I get into that car accident, I think. But that's when it happened. And so now I'm trying to get back up, work my way back up to those long, long walks. But there's a lake, a beautiful, huge lake that we go to. And there's this, a dock, I think it is a ramp where you walk out to the lake. Dogs aren't supposed to be on it, but I've been taking my dogs on it for years. It wasn't until one day I happened to be standing and I was like, oh, there's a sign that specifically says dogs are not supposed to be here. But, I think it's because, they don't want dogs pooping maybe. And getting that in the lake. Or just maybe they don't want I don't know. It doesn't matter. They're not supposed to be on there. And apparently I don't care because I'll take them out there just to let them look around in the water. And then we just turn around and come back. I won't take them out there if people are already out there. But people sometimes go out there to go fishing and stuff. Oh, but speaking of taking dogs to a special place. So it's now, I was going to say it's wintertime. It's not. It's fall. But since now all the outdoor properties, the rain officially started here on Friday. And so all our outdoor projects are done for the year. And so we're doing indoor projects again. And my project, which is pretty much the only thing I can handle, is painting. And I absolutely hate painting. Johan, I found out this weekend, he also hates painting. And I was just like, thank you. Doesn't this suck? I mean, I just absolutely hated painting. And I had started painting this summer but I stopped because I didn't like the color. And so it took a long time for me to explain to Johan what I wanted. Because I just said, I like that color, but I want it 2 shades darker. And he's like, what does that mean? And so we figured out the color. We went to the store to get the paint, and I decided to bring Apollo with us. And that was like such a fun experience because Johan was like, why do we have to bring him? And I was like, he needs to learn that not everyone needs to pet him. He needs to be able to just look at people and be okay with it. And it was, I mean, we're not supposed to bring our dogs into Home Depot, but apparently no one listens and the people at Home Depot don't.
Oh, I thought it was like a thing.
Exactly. There's signs at the door. And I think it's like for liability reasons. And so hopefully no executives from Home Depot are listening to this podcast. And if you are listening to this podcast, please do not ruin our fun because it's a very convenient place for us to socialize our dogs.
Pictures of that like all the time. I thought that was
there's a meme about a Home Depot dog that was like a rescue dog or something. And now it's like their mascot. He's like the mascot. There's like this cute little meme that goes around. Maybe that's a lie. But so I took him to Home Depot. Everyone at Home Depot was so amazing. If I could, I would give them all gold stars because everyone asked if they could pet him. And everyone waited because I was just like, yes. And everyone was like, waited until he settled down. And then they pet him. And then if he started getting excited, they backed off. Aww. And it was, I mean, every single person was so amazing.
That's awesome.
And one guy gave me some great advice on how to stop him from jumping. He said, well, have you heard of Cesar Millan? And I was just like, yes, sir. As a matter of fact, I have. He's like, well, Cesar Millan says that if you step on their back feet, they won't jump. And I was just like, okay. So there was a dog that either harmed a pig or killed a pig that was under his watch. So, and he was like, what? And I was like, I don't remember all the details of it, but I was like, I really like Cesar Millan and I have a lot of respect for him, but I don't train his way. I was like, it's not my training style. I'm more of a, let's repeat this over and over and over again until you get it. And he was just like, okay. Yeah, exactly. And the guy was like, okay. And so it was kind of fun because people were like taking turns to come and they would give us a break. Aww. And then people would come back again. And it was like really nice. Everyone was so wonderful.
That's awesome.
About it. And by the time we were done, he was pretty much exhausted but he was just like in heaven with all the attention and all these people. And it was a lot of fun. And I painted 2 walls. I have 2 more to go.
That's awesome. Good for you.
Thank you.
So you are doing another summit soon.
I am. I'm doing another summit. Dr. Judy Morgan is hosting a dog nutrition summit the first week of November. So that's the end of next week. And actually, by the time this is published, it's like the end of this week.
Yeah.
But it's still next week. But anyway.
It's free.
It's free. 100% free. It's the 4th to the 8th. Speakers like, Dr. Ian Billinghurst, Dr. Kathy Alanovi, she and Dr. Morgan, I met them before I realized who they were. And they helped me transition my dogs to raw. Dr. Connor Brady, Dr. Nick Thompson, Julianne Lee of Adored Beast Apothecary. Chelsea Kent is going to be doing a session. So
awesome.
I think it's going to be really cool because it's going to be all about, basically feeding our dogs, meeting those nutritional needs, but not freaking out about it. And someone mentioned to me, I can't remember who it was, but they said that when it comes to raw feeding, that it seems like there's this pendulum switch. So 10 years ago, it was like, oh, it's just easy. Just throw the food in the bowl. The dogs don't know what to do. They'll make up the difference. If they need it, they'll go outside and eat dirt and they'll get what they need or something. But like, it's okay. Don't worry about it. And people were very casual about raw feeding. And actually, people started getting annoyed with the folks that were like, well, we need to add vegetables and, hey, coconut oil. Because they're like, you're making it too complicated. Dogs don't need that. And then it switched to,
You got to have a
Okay.
spreadsheet.
Well, yeah, because it was just sort of like, well, is 80-10-10? I mean, which was an important conversation to have. It's like, is that enough? And people started looking into it, realizing it wasn't, and started feeding differently. And now, yeah, we got to have a spreadsheet, and maybe there's this software, and everything got a little more complicated, where now we went from yelling at each other about whether or not we needed to feed vegetables to yelling at each other about the fact that, we're not meeting our dog's macro and micronutrient needs, and this is so dangerous. And I think people are starting to switch back. Like, it's going back to like, yeah, 80-10-10 isn't it, but the spreadsheets isn't it either. And people are trying to find a nice balance. And I feel like this summit is going to epitomize this, where it's like, we just need to find a nice balance. So it's important that we're feeding our dogs a nutritious diet, but, how can we do that without pulling our hair out, without people running, screaming back to kibble because they're so terrified? I mean, because I get messages from people, probably every time I send out a newsletter, I usually get at least 2 emails from people who they're just nervous and scared. And one person recently was like, I'm still feeding kibble because I'm afraid that my dogs aren't getting the nutrients they need from the raw, and explaining about, the quality of nutrients in the kibble. It's so much better in these organs, and it's fresh and it's more bioavailable, but they still can't let it go. And it's just like, and I think it's a combination of their veterinarian telling them,
yeah, like fear mongering.
Yeah, you shouldn't be feeding raw. And then looking over at the raw food community and being told, well, you need to get a recipe, and you need to do that. And so people are like, I don't know what I need to do.
Right.
So I'm just going to do everything and call it good. And so I'm pretty excited about it. I still haven't done the raw food summit. I need to sit down and watch those first. So I'm going to do those this weekend. That summit is long past, but the November 4th through the 8th, I'm pretty excited about it. I know I'm very interested in anyone who's talking about gut health, because that's kind of just where my head is right now. But I think that they're going to be all over everything.
And I'll make sure we have a link in the show notes so that everybody can sign right up. And yeah, it's free to watch all the recordings. And yeah, I always love when I have to be in the car or something, 'cause that's what I got playing.
Yeah. It's just like, it's going to be pretty cool. And then I'm currently taking a course by it's Feed Real, but they're a subsidiary of Real Dog Box. And oh my gosh, you would love this.
I've been debating about signing up.
Love this.
Okay.
It's so fun. And I've only gone through 2 sessions, and I'm like, it's hard because I want to do it every day, but I want to be able to sit down and go through a segment all at once. And like, I guess each segment has, or I don't know what they call it, but let's say I think it's like maybe 10 segments or sessions. And then within each one, there's like 10 to 15 things that you go through. And it's a lot. It's a lot of information, but it's not overwhelming. It's not complicated. But I want to be able to finish it all together, because there's a test at the end. And if I do half of it on Monday and then the other half on Thursday, I might forget some of the things that I learned on Monday. So I want to do that. But it is so much fun. And the first segment, which I loved, was about basically the history of dogs and how dogs and man came together. And that was just such information, or interesting information. Some things I didn't know. Like, for instance, in some cases, there were pregnant dogs that went to humans so that they can get scraps for their pups because it was too much in the pack. And then they ended up creating their own pack that way. And, but mostly it was, we came together for hunting purposes. And then basically the wolves stayed when we settled down and started farming. And then that's when amylase was introduced into their system, because they were eating what we were eating. And it's not that they've evolved to eat a high carb diet. That's not it at all. It's that they can consume some starches and things like that, but it's not meant to be 50 to 60% of their diet. But the next section, so that was the first session, was sort of like the history. The second session was about just the nutrients in the diet. And so it goes through macro, micro, everything. And it's, again, very interesting and talks about like where these nutrients are coming from and what different foods bring to the bowl. But now the next 3 segments are going to be about raw feeding. So about, you know, why we feed raw, transitioning to raw, and then what you need to know after you transition to raw. And that's what I'm really excited about now because, you know, that's my wheelhouse. But I love that there's no my way or the highway type of energy coming from any of this. It's very much just information. And what I like is that unlike other courses that either I've taken or seen, this isn't someone's opinion or someone's not creating a course around how they choose to feed raw. This is all science-based, and it was inspired by the Kasi course. It was just meant to be delivered in a way that the average pet parent can consume this information and be able to now speak intelligently about why they feed raw and understand, you know, more about dog nutrition. But yeah, it's stupendous. You would love it.
Yeah, I love the sound of that. I've been hemming and hawing about that. That might be like my early Christmas gift to myself or something.
Yeah, and for $150, it's, you know, compared to $900 for Kasi.
Yeah, because I've looked at the Kasi course before too.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to do it, and I've had people tell me, no, you should really do it, and I was just like, I can't. My head goes to, what can I spend $900 on? And I would stock up on dog food or it would go into my freeze dry fund, but it wouldn't go to a course because although I find it interesting, I'm fine with how I feed my dogs. So there's nothing that pushes me to want, because I don't want to do meal. Even if I did do a course like that, I don't want to offer meal formulation services. I think that there's a liability to doing that makes me nervous, because if I do something wrong and someone's dog gets sick, even if they can't sue me for it, if it turns out that that's not a possibility, it would still just wreck me that I did that. So and it's not to say that other people shouldn't do it. I just don't have the confidence to do that for other people. I can play around with it, but I just couldn't do it as a service. But I love this one because I want to know these things, and I really like the idea. I mean, they have support, like you can go and look at links and understand. I really like it. I think it's fantastic. And so I'm really excited for more people to do it. I'm hoping that they like create a group for all of us so that we can like start talking about things, and, you know, like maybe I didn't really understand this part and someone else can jump in. I think it can turn into something really big. But they have the one for pet parents, but they also have a higher level one that's for like veterinarians and people who actually have a business, and you can get course credit for it. So I don't know if you can now, but they're working to get it certified so that people who take it can go towards
like continuing education.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is pretty awesome.
Oh, well, I found out about a podcast this week that I was really excited about that I wanted to mention. I don't know how I had missed this one, but there's an organization called CIVT. I don't know if you've heard of this or not, but it's like the College of Integrative Veterinarians or something like that. And it's where a lot of our vets who learn acupuncture and it's like where they go to learn these things. Mm-hmm. And they actually have their own podcast where they talk with all these different integrative veterinarians. And so I found out about it. Of course, now I can't find it in my feed. Oh, here we go. So the podcast is called The Integrative Veterinarian. And Dr. Nick Thompson was the guest this week. So that was how I had first heard about it. But then I was scrolling through and looking at all the awesome people that they've had on in the past. And, you know, it's totally people that we would love to hear from.
Okay, I'm following them. And this is going to be fun because that means I can just dive deep into it. Oh, this is going to be so much fun. I'm on their website right now, and they have some pretty cool courses. I mean, it's spendy, but I'm looking at one for essential oils, which would be really fun to take. I also need to reach out to Rita Hogan, because she has a food energetics course that I want to check out.
She has a podcast out too. It's pretty new. It's called Dogs Are Individuals.
Perfect. Now I'm going to look at that one. Dogs Are Individuals. I think I'm there it is. I'm officially a nerd now because I'm just doing all this dog stuff. But Johan was so kind because the other day he asked me, I forgot what I was doing, but he asked me what I was working on, and I told him I'm doing this course, and he was like, "What course?" He was like, "Oh, is this the dog nutrition course? Do you like it?" And I was just like, "Oh, that's really sweet," because I know he doesn't care. He cares, as much as being a person who cares about me, but it's not like he wants to have these, like, it's not me and you. He's not going to do this with me. And so I thought it was really thoughtful of him to ask, but it is. To go back to it, I'm just super excited. And I hope that they come out with more and more courses. Or I do know, and I hope my dream of dreams would be to see them partner with like Rita Hogan and like Dr. Josie Bugh and, Barbara Royal, Judy Morgan. And if they have courses, like have like a directory where we can have one place to go and we can, oh, okay, I want to take this course by Rita Hogan, because that would be really cool too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to know everything about everything.
I know.
That's all.
I know. It's just all I want. It's so much fun because I'll do that. Like I was listening to Billy and Kelly earlier today when they did a live, and I'm sitting here listening, and then finally I just got impatient because I was like, I have questions now. And then I ended up on YouTube, and I'm going down the fermentation rabbit hole, and I didn't get any of my questions answered, but I did learn all this new stuff about fermentation where it's like, now it made me want to, and I went out to the garage and I'm like, I need all of this stuff moved because I'm going to have shelves and I'm just going to have ferments going, and I'm not going to do any of that. But for a second I was inspired. I do have, I call it my grow operation because it sounds so illegal, but I do have now 5 grow kits going with broccoli sprouts.
Nice.
But I'm going to expand and do wheatgrass, sunflower sprouts. And Billy recommended these sprouts that he said he did these for, I think he said he did them for Lua. And what they are is it's basically the plant that gives maple syrup the flavor. And so if you feed these sprouts to your dog, eventually your dog will start smelling like maple syrup. And so I know. And I was just like, well, now you got me. And so I'm trying to find, here it is. It's called, I don't know how to say this, but fenugreek. Fenugreek seeds.
Oh, okay. I've heard of that.
Yeah. And so I ordered those, and I'll be doing those. So I've decided to branch out with my sprout grow operation.
All right.
And I saw someone when I was first wanting to do this, but I was like, I can't do it. It's too hard. And someone, actually the folks of Animal Essentials, they sent me theirs. And it's a full-on shelves with lighting. And
oh, wow.
I mean, it was just sort of like, yeah, I'm not doing any of that. I mean, I like it. It's cool. But that looks a little bit. And they were like, oh, no, it's easy. And then they send me this picture. And it's like, I don't think that's what I have to do. But it's pretty cool. It's kind of cool to talk to some of these people outside of their brand to see that everything that they're promoting to us, they're doing it at home and then some.
Right.
It's like, it's kind of cool.
All right.
There you go. That was an exciting conversation. I really need you to sign up for that course.
Yeah, I think I need to do that.
Well, it was wonderful talking to you.
Always a pleasure.
Bye, guys.